Verbs, intransitive and transitive. So today's lesson is going to be about how verbs lead to direct objects and how we understand and detect a direct object in Latin grammar. So let's start by talking about a little grammar. What exactly is a verb? A verb is any word that describes either an action or a state of being. An action verb involves some sort of physical movement, some sort of physical change. Walks is a verb. Jumps is a verb. Throws is a verb. Blinks is a verb. Linking verbs describe a state of being. There's no actual physical movement involved, but it tells you about how a person, place, or thing is feeling at that particular moment. So, turned red, is tired, was sick, looked disgusting. Those are all examples of linking verbs. Now, the same word can be used as either an action verb or a linking verb. For example, Bob felt sick. Felt in that case is a linking verb because it's telling us Bob's state of being. However, Bob felt the fabric is an action verb because he's performing a physical activity, feeling a piece of fabric. Similarly, Annie grew flowers is an example of an action verb because she is engaged in the physical act of cultivating flowers. Whereas Annie grew tired is a linking verb because she's not actually doing anything, but it's telling us about her particular state of being. Now, in order to determine whether a verb is being used as an action verb or a linking verb, you have to look at the rest of the sentence in which it appears to determine the verb's meaning. Now, today I want to concentrate on action verbs because I want to move into the idea of the direct object. There are two types of action verbs. The intransitive verb, coming from the Latin word transit meaning move, an intransitive verb is a verb that does not move the sentence on to another word. As I say here, an intransitive verb does not transfer its action to another word. It makes sense without having to transfer the action anywhere else. For instance, cats drink. Drink is an intransitive verb. Planes fly. Fly is an intransitive verb. Clocks tick. Tick is an intransitive verb. Because it doesn't transfer its action, there's no direct object there. It doesn't transfer its action to anything else. These two-word sentences are, in fact, complete sentences because you have a subject and you have a verb. And so the sentences stand on their own. Transitive verbs, like my special effects there, transitive verbs move the action somewhere else. They transfer their action to someone or something. I realize I have an apostrophe in it's there, and that's grammatically incorrect. I'm too lazy to go back and fix it. Sorry about that. Anyway, someone or something is being acted upon. The receiver of the action is a direct object. For instance, cats drink water. So in the previous example, cats drink, drink was an intransitive verb. In this case, it's a transitive verb because water, the word in italics, is a direct object. What do cats drink? They drink water. Similarly, clocks measure time. What gets measured? Time gets measured. Time is a direct object of that transitive verb, measure. Finally, pens use ink. Again, use is a transitive word. Ink is being used. That's what makes it the direct object. So, finding the direct object in Latin is a little bit more challenging than English. In English, it's easy to find the direct object because it usually follows directly after the verb. Cats drink water, pens use ink, clocks measure time. In Latin, however, as we already know, word order is not important, so you have to look at word endings. In most cases, the word that becomes a direct object will end with the letter M. As I mentioned, instead of word order, Latin nouns rely on word endings to establish their use. Each use is called a case. Now, so far in Latin 1, we've only studied one case, the nominative case, when a noun is used as the subject of a sentence. For example, Flavia est defesa. Flavia is tired. In that particular situation, Flavia is in the nominative case. She is the subject of the sentence. Today we're adding a second case, the accusative case. when the noun acts as a direct object of a verb. Again, using our previous example, Flavia, we see here, Davos terret Flaviam. Davos frightened Flavia. At this point, the word Flavia becomes the direct object. What got frightened? Flavia got frightened. So the word Flavia has to be written in the accusative case, which, as I mentioned already, is accomplished by adding an M to the end of the word. A couple things to remember about the accusative case. Firstly, the M ending applies to both feminine and masculine nouns. Davos terret puellam. Davos frightened the girl. Davos puerum terret. Davos frightened the boy. Now, one thing you'll notice there is in both cases, the direct object ends with an M. Puellam, puerum. However, you'll notice that the word order changed around for no discernible reason. As I said, word order is not that important in Latin. So either version is grammatically correct if we're speaking about Latin grammar. That's why you have to pay attention to the endings. Now, we're going to flip things around there, going on to the next example. Word ending determines use. Puella davum terret. The girl frightened Davos. So you can see what happened in my previous set of examples. Davos is the subject in the nominative case, and the name ends as it should end. When Davos becomes a direct object, you render that name into the accusative case. So the ending becomes um instead of us. Second example there, puer terret davum. Again, the boy frightened Davos. So again, in that particular case, Davos is a direct object of frightened, therefore you render his name in the accusative case. Now, one thing to remember in doing this, when translating names to English, you use the same name consistently. So looking at the examples that follow, Davos terret puellam. Davos frightened the girl. Puella terret davum. The girl frightened Davos. You can see there in Latin, because Davos is a direct object, it becomes davum, but when you translate it to English, you keep the name the same, because it's the name of the boy. In this case, the boy named Davos. In other words, the word spelling tells us the use of the word, but that spelling doesn't follow into the English translation. Davos in English is always Davos, regardless of how the ending appears in Latin. Okay, a few examples here. Again, what I want to do is I'm using mostly proper nouns, the names that we've already learned, and I want you to see how they change according to their usage. Now, in order to do this, I have to involve some transitive verbs that I have not yet studied. Don't worry about that. I won't do that on the test. I'm only doing it here, and I'll tell you the meaning of the verb so that you can figure out the proper ending. So our first example, Flavia davum videt. Flavia sees Davos. Flavia is the nominative case because it's the object of the sentence, the subject of the sentence. Davum is in the accusative case because it's a direct object. Davos docet Marcum. Davos teaches Marcus. So you can see there, again, we're back to the US ending for Davos because it's the subject of the sentence. Marcum is the one being taught, becomes a direct object, hence the M ending. Marcus Corneliat salutat. Marcus greets Cornelia. Again, Marcus at this point is the subject of the sentence. He's the one doing the action. Cornelia is the one being greeted. She becomes the direct object, hence the accusative case for Cornelium. Finally, Cornelia vexat Flaviam. Cornelia annoys Flavia. Same thing again. We're using Cornelia because it's a nominative case. Cornelia is who the sentence is about. She's the subject of the sentence. Flaviam is in the accusative case because Flavia is the one being annoyed. Okay, now that you've had a few examples, this is your chance to try it yourself. As I mentioned, I'll give you the verb. All the verbs are transitive in this particular situation, and your job is to figure out the subject and the direct object of each sentence. So our first one is Marcus davum vexat. The proper answer is Marcus annoys Davos. Example 2. Puella vidat servum. Somebody sees somebody. And if you said the girl sees the slave, you would be correct. Sextus docet Marcum. Somebody is teaching somebody. Sextus is teaching Marcus. Flavia puerum conspicit. Now in this one, puerum is not a proper noun. It's not somebody's name, but it is in fact a noun. And the proper translation is, Flavia catches sight of the boy. Finally, Cornelia feminam audit. Again, feminam is not a proper noun. It's not somebody's name, but it is a noun. The correct answer is, Cornelia hears the woman. So, anyway, I hope this has been helpful for you. And if you would like more practice, go to Quizlet, look for the study set entitled Learning the Accusative Case. You'll see plenty of examples in there that will help you practice further. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for your time and attention. Talk to you later.